So you can see here, I have curves on my side. With the girls, I had no curves. I went out like this. And with him, I'm going out like a basketball. In the front, you really can't tell. I mean, you can tell that I'm pregnant, like I have a bump for sure. But it doesn't look, it's not like too obvious to me. Like, I don't know if it's just me. But then, hold on, I go to the side and it's just like, boom, it's there. But yes, so I do have a belly. This is my 34 weeks and 6-day belly. Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. So today's video is going to be first trimester recap / update. I've been meaning to do this forever for you guys, and I told you I would update you soon, so I'm sorry. I do apologize. If you guys are new to my channel, hi, my name is Becky. Welcome. I would love you to consider subscribing and joining me here on my crazy journey on YouTube. So this is my third baby. I have two girls. Rakaya is 7 and Raquel just turned 5 in January 12th. And today is Saturday the 22nd of January. So I got this planner last year, and when I got pregnant and when I started 75-day heart challenge, I wrote everything in here. I jotted a lot of notes week by week, and just symptoms that I was having, things I was going through during my pregnancy. So right now I'm currently 34 weeks and 6 days. So yes, this video is extremely late. So I'll do a second trimester recap video as well. So be on the lookout for that, and I'll get into more detail of what happened with our 20-week anatomy scan that we got. We got some news. Not the best news, but it's okay. Baby's still here and everything. So during this video, I'm going to be talking about spotting and just getting into symptoms and kind of explaining what I went through and how emotionally draining it was and everything. I'm going to get into a lot of detail. So for one, I'm considered a high-risk pregnancy already just because I'm over the age of 35. Currently, I'm 39 years old. All right, so one of the symptoms that I had the day before I found out, AC went out, and I normally on a regular basis would freak out, and I was completely calm, and I was like, hey, it could be worse. That's just not me. Rakaya, I was super stressed out, super irritable, and Raquel, I wasn't too bad. I was kind of like a mixture, it was off and on. But with this pregnancy, I've definitely been more calm, relaxed, and just a lot more patient with just life. Another symptom I had was my skin was so dry. My skin has never been dry. I've never had a problem, even when I had the girls. And there wasn't enough lotion. There wasn't enough moisture that could satisfy my skin because my skin's so dry. And it still is. It's been throughout this whole pregnancy. It's been super dry. I had no morning sickness, but I didn't have any with the girls. And there's an update on that in the second trimester because I did get morning sickness in the second trimester. So I'm sensitive to certain smells. Prime example, we do the Alaskan codfish that I get from Costco, and Maurice he put it in the air fryer, and I just oh, that smells so funky, it doesn't smell good. Randomly, I would just foods that I normally would think that smell and taste so good, I just was repulsed by them. So chicken and eggs, my go-tos for protein, and healthy fats. Chicken and eggs are one of my favorite foods. I couldn't stand the sight of them. The smell, the sight made me want to puke. Another thing, the only thing I wanted was beef. So ground, hamburgers. That's the only thing I could eat. Not even steak, pork chops, nothing. Nothing else besides hamburger. All I wanted was hamburger. It was one of the symptoms that I don't remember experiencing really with the girls. Bloating. Bloating more than normal. I just thought that I was getting my period soon, so I was bloating, and I was like, okay, I'm on the 75-day heart challenge. It's so far changed my body tremendously, so it's got to be because of the 75-day heart challenge. Everything I reverted back to because of the 75-day. I blamed everything on the challenge rather than realizing that I was pregnant. So bloating, another major one. I started to get acne. I get normally a pimple, maybe 2 at the max, right before I get my period, but it was breaking out right here and just right here, and you can see it's guaranteed every single week, just breaking out constantly. And I have not broken out in them areas like forever. Like I get one occasional pimple, but it wouldn't last. It would dry up and go away. Like it was not a big deal at all. And I broke out majorly, so I thought maybe that it was the masks, because we had to wear masks at work. So I'm like, automatically I played. Like there were so many excuses for why these symptoms were happening that I didn't realize that, hey, it could be because you're pregnant. But so I thought it was a mask. I was like, oh, that's from the mask. So I washed my masks with a different detergent, thinking that I was maybe sensitive to a detergent. There's so many things that I just had so many excuses, and the only one excuse was because I was pregnant, but I didn't know at the time. Brain fog. The brain fog was lifted when I went on 75-day heart challenge. And all of a sudden I started getting brain fog again. Like, I'm like, what is going on? Like, I just was the mommy brain, the pregnant brain. Like, pregnancy brain is so real. You guys, I know people like call it BS. It's not. Pregnancy brain is it's such a real thing. It's crazy. All right, so I don't know if you guys have ever heard of Bloom Greens. I think it's Bloom Nutrition, Bloom Greens. I'll insert a picture over here or here of what it is. But I was like, okay, I need more greens because I'm not getting enough greens in. I don't feel like I was getting enough like vitamins in through my food, because I heard like great reviews about it and everything. So I'm like, I'm going to try this out. What do I got to lose? Drink it first night, second night, second day, I'm like, God, I'm kind of tired. And now, remind you, before this, I had no issues with like being tired or sleepy or anything because of the challenge I was on. And I just remember going, I could literally just rest my head in my hands, close my eyes, and fall asleep. I was so extremely tired. And my coworker, that's like been throughout this whole thing, like I appreciate her so much. You guys have no idea. Like she has been like my rock, especially at work. Like, so she was with like the whole time we were trying for baby number 3. So she's like, right away, she's like, what if you're pregnant? And I was like, no, it's not possible. Like, I don't even want to get it in my head. I didn't even want to like go there because I'm like, nope, not pregnant. Like, don't even go there. I'm like, what? I don't even remember exactly what I said. But I'm like, nope, like zip it. Nope, not pregnant. Like, don't even get that crap started in my head again. Like I don't even want to like go there because it was just tormentive. So what have you been doing different? Like what have you been doing? And I told her, I was like, the only thing I've been doing different is Bloom Nutrition, because we always try to like investigate, like why like certain things are. You always try to investigate. And so I was like, maybe it has to be the Bloom Nutrition. And I remember coming home, told my mom, I'm like, God, I just feel so tired, right? So I just like, she's like, why don't you just go off of it and see? So I went off of it. I felt better. Went off it for a couple days, and I'm like, okay, that's weird. Because like all the reviews, and I was like, I don't want to return it, but like all the reviews are saying, like it's supposed to wake you up, it's supposed to give you more energy, and you're supposed to get all this energy from this. And I'm like, well, maybe my body's just different and doesn't like it. Maybe it just doesn't, maybe it doesn't need it. I don't know. Go off for a couple days, go back on it. Same thing. So I'm like, okay. So I blamed it on the Bloom stuff. I blamed it on the greens. That was the only explanation for it. Then now we finally get to week 4. And I'm like, my period's late. Like I'm like, I think it was like 5 days late, if I recall. And I'm like, I'm late. I'm just gonna try. I'm a little extra bloated. I am tired, and I'm like going through all this stuff that like something's wrong, something's up. Let's just test it out. It could be because of the challenge, doing 2 workouts, like my body's really taking a toll. Maybe my body's like, Becky, you need to rest a little bit, like get some more sleep, something. Like my body's off. But in the beginning of the challenge, I felt so amazing. So it's really throwing me off on what could possibly be wrong. Just maybe like not like working out too hard, because I was really like kicking my butt. 2 45-minute workouts definitely was really kicking my butt per day. So, but I felt amazing though at the same time. Like it's a crazy thing. So I was like, I'm just gonna take a pregnancy test that morning. Obviously, guys, if you guys have seen my pregnancy video, and I'll finding out that I'm pregnant video. I'll link it down below in the description box for you guys. So if you guys want to go and watch that, like I'm literally surprised. And then it all made sense when I took all of it together. But still the only thing that doesn't make sense is the Bloom Nutrition. I still don't get why I reacted where it made me super tired, and then I felt better when I went off of it and went back on it, and then it made me super tired again, so then I went off. And I literally haven't touched it since. I don't know if you can even take it while you're pregnant. I guess I didn't even think to read up on that. Really wasn't worried about that. I took the pregnancy test on the June 25th, told my husband that following morning, on a Saturday morning, I told my husband, and I have that video up as well. You guys, you go and watch it. The reactions are quite hilarious. And then I told my mom that following Sunday. I just asked her to keep it to herself because, yeah, obvious reasons. I wanted to make sure it was okay. So I plan on telling you guys right in the beginning, very early. I know it's like, people say don't ever tell before you hit the 12 weeks. And I'm like, normally, I would agree, especially if it's your first pregnancy. But I was like, this is my third. I haven't had any problems. I had a miscarriage before Rakaya, like a long, long time ago. And I was like, we're good. So week 5, on June 30th, I made my OB appointment and then the first time they can see you is at 8 weeks. Week 6, now this is where I started spotting and things got really scary. Something that I never thought I would have to go through. It was a very scary, scary moment for me and my family. Okay, so for July 4th, we went to Florida, to Disney World. And we brought the kids there. They went on their first plane ride. They loved it. They don't want to travel any other way now. So Monday we go to Disney World, and before we even went to Disney World, I did one of my workouts down in the gym. And I did pretty hard, even though I knew I was going to be walking a lot that day. I was like, okay, I lifted some weights and did some, I did all my normal things that I did before pregnancy. So I still continued to lift heavy weights and still continued, even though I was pregnant, like I took it easy, but I still lifted heavy weights and still did my thing. In the beginning of the park, I was like, I don't want to get one of the carts that the girls can get pushed in, because then we have to worry about that when we go into lines for the rides and stuff. So I didn't want to worry about that. I asked the girls, I was like, can you guys walk? It's going to be a long walk. And they're like, yeah. They were super excited. They loved it. And then about halfway through, Rakai was getting a little tired, but Raquel was pretty over it. So she wanted to be carried. So between me and Maurice, we switched off. And I carried her a lot more just because I was just like, I was fine. I was like, hey, this is a good workout, So in my mind, I was fine. When we got towards the end of the park, I noticed I was like, I feel like I did too much. I overdid it for sure. So we get done with the park. We go back to the hotel. I do another workout because I have to do the outdoor workout. So you have to do one outside and you got to do one inside. Well, I did one inside in the morning and then one outside at night. So I just basically paced around the hotel like I was doing pretty much the whole time I was there, because there was not really a good time where I could do a continuous 45-minute walk outside or like a workout. So I would just literally walk around the hotel. I was exhausted by the end of the day. And I went to the bathroom and I wiped, and I kind of noticed just a little light pink on the toilet paper. Okay, that's weird, but blew it off whatever. Didn't even pay attention to it, kind of whatever. Didn't do nothing. The following morning was the day we were leaving, which was a Tuesday, and I remember wiping and the same thing, but it was just very light. So I was like, maybe it's a toilet paper, because it hadn't happened all day long in Disney World. It wasn't happening anywhere else. And then even when we went on the plane ride, nothing. When we were at the airport, went to the bathroom, I would look and there was nothing. I was like, it had to be the toilet paper. Got back the following day, I'm like, oh, I need to go tape. I think it was the at-home store. So if you guys are new to my channel, I do a lot of shopping videos. Okay, so we were at the at-home store, and so I might read some stuff word for word for you guys. I had to go potty, and we had the girls, and I had my husband with me and the girls, and he was kind of off with them trying to look for stuff or whatever. And then I was obviously doing my taping, and I went to the bathroom and I wiped, and there was like a brown discharge. And it was very like apparent that it was there. And I was like, okay, now I seen the light pink. I remember seeing the light pink twice, and I'm like, okay. So I started getting teary-eyed automatically. That's another symptom of being pregnant. You cry over everything. So I started getting teary-eyed, and he's like, what are you gonna do? And I was like, I think I'm gonna go in. So we left the store. I brought them home, dropped them off, and went into urgent care. And on the way over to urgent care, in my head, like I got in my head majorly, and was just thinking about like, I overdid it. I overdid it. I worked out too much. I overdid it, at Disney World. I overdid it by going on the plane. Did this cause this? Like, it was all in my head. So I was very nervous. I started thinking right away, like the worst, scenarios. So I started thinking, okay, I'm having a miscarriage. Like, I'm 6 weeks, 3 days. Like, why has this happened? Like, I've been waiting so long for this baby. Like, why, And I was freaking out majorly. Go to urgent care. I see the nurse that checks you in. She weighs me, everything. She's like, do you have any fever? Do you have any chills? What's the discharge look like? So I showed her because I had taken a picture. And she's like, okay. She's like, it's brown. She goes, it's very common to spot, your first trimester, yada, yada, yada. I was like, that's fine and all, but I never spotted with the girl. So this is not right to me. Like, something's wrong. And, like, she wasn't like settling me down, making me think that everything was going to be okay at all. Like, I was in my head, and I was like freaking out, like thinking just the worst possible scenario. And so she gets the doctor in there, and he was like, okay. So he felt around my belly, pushed in my belly, and he was like, okay, it doesn't feel, I don't remember exactly what he said, but he was like, it doesn't feel hard, I think. I don't remember exactly, but he was like, he goes, it's very common to spot during pregnancy, this and that. He's like, but because you've had a miscarriage before, I want to do a ultrasound just to make sure, and just to, weed out anything that could possibly, if it could be happening. And he goes, I'm going to check your HCG level. I'm going to give you an ultrasound, and then I'm going to have you pee in a cup and everything like that. So I said, okay. So I went to pee in the cup before I went down to labs, and I wiped, and there was so much brown discharge. Like, it was so apparent. Like, I'm like, this really sucks, and start crying. Okay. Went to the lab, did my blood work, and I had to go to a different urgent care because at that urgent care they didn't have a ultrasound machine. So I go over to the next town over, and then the ultrasound technician was like, okay, I'm going to take a few pictures, and then I'll have the doctor discuss everything with you. She does an abdomen, regular ultrasound on my belly, and got a few pictures on there. And then she went down, and she was pressing really, really hard. I felt like so uncomfortable when she was pressing. And then she was like, okay, I'm going to use a wand. And they did a vaginal ultrasound. She goes, it might be a little bit uncomfortable. She goes, but, just so you're aware. And I'm like, okay. Now, mind you, she wasn't saying anything during this whole time. So it was just like, I just wanted to hope. I seen the sac, she's like, okay, there's the sac. There's the baby right there. Whatever. I'm like, okay. And then when she did the vaginal one, she was able to get a reading of the heartbeat. We couldn't hear the heartbeat, but she got a reading of the heartbeat, and she goes, okay, the heartbeat's at 115. And in my mind, I'm like, that's like super slow, because normally during pregnancy, when I've ever gotten an ultrasound, it's been between like 135 to 180. So with the girls, that was what it was ranging from. And I'm like, that's really slow. And she goes, no, she's like, for this stage of pregnancy, that's actually normal. I'm like, okay. And she was like, I'll have the doctor discuss everything with you as far as the photos and everything, okay? And just once we got done, she was like, okay, here's a couple paper towels, because to use the wand, to insert the wand, she had to put lube on it. And so she gave me a couple paper towels to wipe, because obviously I was very wet down there. So she leaves the room, and she was like, okay, let me know when come out when you're done. She leaves the room, and I wipe, and there's so much blood. There's so much discharge. Of course, I start crying again. I get out of the room. I wipe my tears away. And she's like, you know, she's like, it's normal. She was like, when you, she went, like, she didn't give me any kind of hope. Like, seeing the heartbeat, yes, the heartbeat was there. So that was like the only hope I had. She goes, I'm gonna have you go sit in a room and wait for the doctor to call you. And I said, okay. So she went and sat me in the room. And 45 minutes, an hour went by, and it felt like an eternity when you're waiting for something like this. Like, it just felt like it was forever, which 45 minutes to an hour is a long time, because she told me like 5 minutes, I think. So it felt like forever. It felt like an eternity. So 45 minutes, almost an hour goes by, and I'm like, okay, no phone call yet. So I get up, and I kind of go look out in the hallway, like, where's she at? I finally found her, and she's like, you're still here? And I was like, yeah. And she goes, all right. She's like, let me call your doctor, because he should have called you by now. And I was like, okay. She goes, go back in the room. She goes, and he should call you within the next 5 minutes or whatever. So I'm like, okay, hopefully, you know. And I go back in the room, my phone rings, and he goes, okay, Rebecca, we have some great news. We have a heartbeat. But I'm still concerned that you are bleeding. So be on the cautious side of things, because you've had a miscarriage before. I'm going to put you on bed rest. So I don't want you to be lifting anything. And I was like, not even my kids, like nothing. And he's like, no, because he goes, if you can avoid it, I mean, if it's an emergency and you have to lift them for some reason, he goes, yes, of course. He goes, but try to avoid any kind of lifting, pulling, no sex, no nothing. Pretty much put your feet up. Try not to walk around, just bed rest, complete bed rest. And I'm like, okay, I can do this. And then he goes, I want you to follow up with your OB within the next couple days here as soon as possible. And if you need a doctor's note for work to excuse you from work because I want you to be on bed rest, he goes, I can give that to you. And I'm like, no, I'm actually on vacation for the rest of the week. And he's like, okay, so perfect. I went home, put my feet up. Of course, you know, I'm watching television, bored. I'm not used to not moving. Like, it was just a crazy time. So I'm like, obviously my body needs this rest. So maybe if I, you know, this is a good thing. Like, he put me on bed rest. So I wasn't thinking anything like bad. So obviously I was stressed, and I would like think about miscarrying and like all the emotions that went with it. It was just like very, very hard. I went on YouTube, and watching some of the videos really did help. And that's why I'm taping this, to like know that it is very common to bleed during your first trimester. Like, it's very common to spot. As long as it's not bright red blood and you don't have like a lot of cramping, pretty much the results would come out where they kept the baby and everything was okay. And I had brown discharge. I did not have any kind of like red discharge, red blood, anything. It was brown the whole time. It was brown. I made an appointment for that Friday. So now this was a Wednesday. I went into urgent care. So that Friday I got an appointment to see the OB. But the next morning, after he put me on bed rest, that Thursday morning, I called and I said, okay, so I'm Rh negative. If you don't know what that is, basically I have a negative blood type. And when you're Rh negative, you have to get the RhoGAM, what is called a RhoGAM shot. And the RhoGAM shot prevents your body from basically getting rid of the baby. So if you are negative and the baby is positive, your body automatically thinks that it shouldn't be there. So it tries to get rid of it. It's a very common thing to be Rh negative, apparently. But that's what the doctor explained to me what it is. So, and I got the RhoGAM shot with my other two pregnancies. I believe I got it at 28 weeks. Well, in the beginning of pregnancy, 28 weeks. And then when I had the girls, I got it again. So I got it like 3 times, I believe, from what I remember. I'm not for sure on that, but I believe at least twice. I know I for sure got it twice. So she was like, I called her and I said, okay, do I need to get the RhoGAM shot? Like, could this baby's blood type possibly be positive? And then I got, you know, I have to worry because then my body's trying to get rid of him. Or, well, at the time I didn't know it was a him, but my baby, you know, my body's trying to get rid of this baby. So I was freaking out, and she goes, when you come in Friday, she goes, we'll have you talk to the OB on that. And I was like, okay. So I go on Friday, and now this is a new OB that I've never seen before. I've never met her before because mine was not available for another week because my OB is like extremely busy. So she wasn't available. So I got a nurse practitioner is what they go by. So you usually see your nurse practitioner and then your OB, and they switch it back and forth. So she's considered a nurse practitioner. So she can't deliver the babies, but she pretty much knows quite a bit. She walked in and asked me what my symptoms were, and she goes, okay, she's like, your ultrasound looked great. She's like, we don't see any signs of a miscarriage. She's like, the only sign that we obviously see is your discharge. She goes, but it's not red. She goes, which is a really good thing. That's a really good sign that it's old blood. And I was like, okay, I figured that because it was brown. So typically newer blood obviously is red, and then old blood is typically brown. She's like, it doesn't look like you're having a miscarriage. She goes, but it's not guaranteed. Nothing's guaranteed. To stay on the safe side of caution, she would still like me to not to, lift or pull, no exercise, no sex. She recommended no more than 30 minutes of walking. So I was like, I have to move. I can't sit here and be on bed rest. And she's like, well, you don't have to be in bed the whole time. She goes, but try to keep your feet up as much as possible. And then I was like, can I go for like walks or anything? And she said, if you feel up to it, she's like, yes. She goes, but no more than, I would say, 30 minutes. She goes, but if you have any kind of cramping or more discharge, she goes, automatically stop. She's like, if you have any red bleeding or cramping or fever, she goes, go to the emergency room right away. She also checked to try to see if she could hear the heartbeat, and she found the heartbeat again. She did the wand again. And then she said also that when they do, I asked her, I was like, why did I get so much discharge after the ultrasound tech was, did the wand ultrasound on me? And she said, because you have such high like blood flow in that area during pregnancy, that could be a reason. She said also she thinks it could be implantation bleeding. So basically old blood from the implantation that never left. So basically it pooled up and it just stayed there and it decided to start coming out. So it could have been that. I'm not exactly sure, but it scared me, and it's something that I don't wish anybody to go through. Like it's horrifying. It's scary. Like you don't know throughout your whole pregnancy until your baby's born. You don't know if something could happen. Like it's one of the most scary and like most blessed things. Like having a baby is something that's it's such a blessing, but at the same time so scary. There's so many unknowns during pregnancy. But yeah, so she was really hopeful. She wasn't, like doubting that. She didn't think that I was having a miscarriage. Like she didn't go home and tell me to go home and be prepared, like nothing like that. She said she thinks it's old blood, but just be on the safe side, no lifting and all that. So I did follow her like word for word. Me being on the cautious side of things and being safe and just not trying to push it. Like I didn't want to, obviously it's not worth it. So obviously I quit doing the 75-day heart challenge. So I don't even remember what day I made it to. Let's see. So I was on day 59. So when the 75-day heart challenge ended, it was on day 59. That's when I started. That's when I got the brown discharge, and then I stopped. So I had like 15 days left, but it's okay because I'm going to be doing it again. But good news, I am 34 weeks and 5 days, and I'm still pregnant with baby boy. And yeah, so I'm very blessed and I'm very thankful. But sometimes women out there don't have this good of news to share. So we'll move on to week 7 and 8. So I did the sneak peek test. You can have an option to do it at home. But the chances, like there's been so many times where it's been wrong. And I prefer the lab. So I did the lab test. So went in there. She drew my blood. I had her email my husband's email because I didn't want to find out. I wanted my husband to tell me. I didn't want to look at an email and find out whether I was having a boy or girl. So I wanted to find out. So my husband decided to surprise me. He did a balloon. And it was a huge surprise. Now don't get me wrong. If I would have been pregnant, if you guys don't know already, but I'm having a boy, and if it would have been another girl, it doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. I know a lot of people are like, yes, it does. And I'm like, no, it doesn't. Like, I would have been happy with another girl. I have baby clothes for girls. So I would have been happy either way. Either way, I'm blessed to even be pregnant again for the 3rd time, to have a 3rd baby. So we found out on week 8. And then on week 9, so on week 8 as well, it says, I swear I felt the baby move. Sounds crazy, but I know it wasn't gas or that I had an empty stomach. Like, how you get the empty stomach, like you're hungry kind of growls, or feelings are, I guess. So I know it was an empty stomach, but who knows? I don't even know if it's possible to feel a baby that early on. Is it possible? I don't know. I swear I felt like the bubbles. Like I felt the baby move. I swear I felt the baby move. Okay, on week 9, had an OB appointment and went over the ultrasound. And she does not, at this point, she does not think I'm having a miscarriage, but she thinks it could have been the implantation bleeding like we thought it was from before. And she also went over again how she said it's very common to bleed the first trimester, but still it's like the scariest thing ever. And then on week 10 and 11, on week 10, it says, I swear I felt the baby again. So who knows? I don't know if it's too early, but my coworker's like, you're crazy. Like, you're just feeling things. Like, you know how you want something so bad and you think, yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I was actually feeling the baby move. I don't know. All right, and then week 11, so I got genetic testing done because I'm over the age of 35 automatically. I'm considered a high-risk pregnancy, as I said before. So I got the genetic testing done. And then if I would have known that I could have gotten the confirmation if it was a boy or a girl, like I could have got the gender of the baby, I wouldn't have paid for the sneak peek test. But at the same time, it was nice to find out early. Not that it really made a difference, but it was just kind of excited to like figure out a name and get all that stuff like started, you know. So week 11, I got another blood test, and then like everything came back fine. So no, genetically, like nothing's wrong with the baby according to the blood test. And then, so basically I got my second confirmation that it was a boy, because at first I honestly didn't believe that because there were so many sneak peek tests. Like if you watch YouTube videos on sneak peek tests, especially like the at-home ones, they're wrong. So there were so many tests that were wrong that I was like, I didn't want to believe that it could be a boy. So I was like, there's no way. Like, I'm a girl mom, you know? And then I got a confirmation, my second confirmation from the genetic test, that it was a boy. Or that it is a boy. So then so during week 11, it was I went officially 2 weeks without no spotting. So I started to work out again, just a little bit, like something light. I didn't do too much. I didn't do it for very long, but I just went really light with the weights and everything. And started kind of working out. And then I was just like, I didn't want to, I don't know, I was talking to one of my friends up in Duluth, and I was talking to her, and she was like, don't chance it. Like, don't chance anything. Just don't work out. Like, you can work out after the baby. Like, just eat right, you know, try to concentrate on that. I'm like, it's really hard because I don't like chicken, I don't like eggs, like, ugh, all this stuff tastes nasty to me. So I went 2 weeks without no spotting, and then week 12 came, and this is a week that they say you're in the safe zone. So it's a relief, but at the same time, you never know. Like, pregnancy is very unpredictable. You never know. Like, it's very common to have your miscarriage within the first, 1 to 12 weeks. But you can have a miscarriage afterwards. It doesn't mean that you're like completely safe, like you have nothing to worry about. So it's like I said, it's always up in the air, and what's going to happen is going to happen, that kind of thing. Yeah, so that pretty much wraps up weeks 1 through 12. And yeah, I hope you guys did enjoy this video. If you guys have any questions, especially like regarding my 2 uteruses or just everything, like, leave them down below and I'll try to answer them as best as I can. Alright everyone, I hope you guys did enjoy this video. If you did enjoy this video, please give it a big thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. Stay tuned for the second trimester recap / update. And also, I'm going to be uploading the videos here in about 2 seconds for you guys to see the graphic photos of the unpleasant spotting. If you guys don't want to see them, just end the video here right now. Make sure you guys subscribe if you haven't already, and we'll see you on the next one. Bye-bye.